Oh my gosh. Quick tangent now that you brought up swearing as a kid. I still remember the computer lab at school as a kid had this is one of the first games I played. It had Word Attack 3, and it had this nifty little thing where when you started... Have you played this, Ben? You look like you had. Okay. This is amazing. When you started, this was like 92 or 93, you would type in your name and it would go, hello, so-and-so. So generally the whole class would sit down, and then a few minutes later you'd hear, hello, motherfucking son of a bitch. And then like, what? Because kids would type this stuff in and it would say it. So like,
That's horrible.
You had like all the computers just swearing.
That's terrible. Wow.
That was one of my first gaming experiences.
Well, that's like when I got like after I got my Nintendo 64 and I got games like God no, what was it? I got Ocarina of Time.
Right.
My friend found it in a dumpster behind a Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, that was one of the games that I played a lot of on the 64. But like that was, one of those games where it gave you the option to name your character.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, what are you gonna call it this time?
It was always 3 letters, and you always put ass.
Every time. Well, no, because it was 4. Because you
could do Link.
The default was Link.
Yeah.
So it was 4 letters, which is just begging you to put in a swear word. Oh my god.
So, should we talk about like what sort of things we're really into in terms of genres or I mean a lot of that stuff has already been brought up, but I guess I should mention that after all of the Game Boy stuff, I ended up playing PC around the late 90s. Family got a new computer, so I really got into PC gaming. I was really into Star Wars at the time, so I was playing a lot of the LucasArts titles, and that started out with the Star Wars titles, and I was like, I beat all of those, and I was like, well, what else do you have? And I started playing Monkey Island and Grim Fandango. My parents were really worried. I was probably about 13 at the time, and I was playing this game where you're a skeleton who walks around in a black cloak with a scythe, and everyone's smoking. I think that's what bothered my mom the most. It wasn't the fact that I was like in a demonic sort of world where everyone was, a skeleton and swearing, but the fact that there was a chance of lung cancer. I think that's what bothered her the most. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I did PC. I did a lot of adventure gaming. I cheated compulsively. I mean, some of these puzzles, they're so devilishly hard that even now I think I would struggle with them. But I mean, I cheated. I didn't even care. I figured that's what you were supposed to do. You buy the game. You go get the guide from the internet and you play through the game, because otherwise there's no way in hell you're going to beat it.
God, I used what was it, IGN?
Yeah.
But I didn't know it as IGN. I learned about the website through a friend who apparently you could also type in Sega Sages. I don't know if you heard about that, but you could type in Sega Sages and it would take you to IGN. And he was like, he said it was like this secret thing. And he was
God.
Like, he was like sharing this website.
Yeah, this tome of knowledge with you.
Look, this is how you do it. And oh my gosh, that was where I went to cheat for a lot of games, which, looking back on it, I feel kind of bad about. But I mean, God, that was weird to think that the internet was just sort of coming around at that point.
Yeah,
and stuff like IGN.
So if you knew those sites, you had that power.
Yeah. So I mean, and at that age, 10, I didn't have access to a computer a whole lot. I mean, the computer that we had was from my parents. And,
yeah.
God.
I can tell you how this functioned pre-internet. My cousin had Link's Awakening, and so when I got stuck in that game, I would have to wait 4 months because we weren't going to make a long-distance call.
Yep.
That's how frugal we were. I had to wait 4 months, and then I would show up. My cousin would take control of the Game Boy, and within like 10 minutes, it would be fixed, and then I would be really pissed. But oh man, my cousin was a video game junkie. I think we stayed up until what felt like 4 a.m., but it must have been like 9 p.m. And he beat Ben's laughing. He beat what's the Zelda for Super? Link to the Past?
Super Nintendo.
He marathoned that game. He was only like 8. He knew everything.
This is fantastic.
Aaron, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Something was sick and wrong with you at that point.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I played adventure games. I've always liked action adventure. Eternal Darkness is amazing. If you ever get the chance to play that, do. It's only for GameCube, and it's kind of hard to find, but it's definitely worth it if you kind of want a sort of Lovecraftian horror experience. I love Beyond Good and Evil.
Using big words now.
Yeah. Well, Lovecraftian's a name, but I guess it's still a word. Yeah. Horror games. Oddly enough, horror I only got into because my friend Tom and I were at Best Buy one night, and I wanted something new to play, and Resident Evil 0 looked good. And I'd never played a horror game before. I was kind of a little bit scared, but I was like, I need something new to play. That's 2 discs. Damn it. That's going to last me a while. I know this. And I took it home I took it back to Tom's almost immediately. It got dark. It started raining. There was thunder. A couple bolts of lightning here and there. And then it was like, welcome to Resident Evil 0. And at that point, I don't know.
Lost it.
I felt like when you have the Ouija board and you've just channeled Satan. I was like, oh my God, what have we done? But Tom ended up being the one who was terrified and scared. He ended up throwing the wave bird halfway across the room. He dented his parents' wooden floor.
Is that dent still there, you think, or they buff it out?
Oh gosh, knowing Mrs. Team, it's probably buffed out. You have no idea that it was there. There was another time when a licker leapt out at Tom and he pulled the controller, the wired one, right out, and the whole GameCube fell off the thing. So that's when there was a Resident Evil law at Tom's. Yeah, horror was actually kind of just sort of on a whim, and went from that to all the other Resident Evils to the Silent Hills and Condemned 1. If you ever want to be scared beyond anything else, play the Condemned level in the abandoned shopping mall.
I want to tell you my terrible experience with this game, right? So I bought this, bought the game, I think 3 years back, and just to preface this whole scenario, I sold it in like 4 days, but it wasn't because it was scary. So I'm playing this game, and as I'm playing it, it's scary, but I'm liking it. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. And as I'm going through the levels, each level is getting progressively darker and darker, and I think I told you about this.
Yeah.
But the problem was certain textures on walls were not rendering, and like lights within rooms were not rendering. So by the time that this degraded to the point that it finally ended, I was only, I would say, a quarter of the way. Maybe not even a quarter of the way through the game, but it was the point where you're in the room with all of the pictures on the wall, and none of the textures had rendered. It was completely black, except for one light in the kitchen on the other side of the apartment, and I had to navigate my way through this level, and I was like, is the game supposed to be like this? Like, I didn't understand it, and I and that's why I sold it back. I was like, this game does not work. I finished that level.
Yeah.
The level with the pictures, which was insane, because I couldn't see half of the things that was going on, but it loaded the next level, and I believe it was in a parking garage. I couldn't tell because I couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you believe it was.
I'm like, they have the objective marked of where I need to go, and I'm trying to get to the objective, but I'm running into these black solid objects. Like, all it is like a black object, and they're dimly lit. So like one edge of it will be a slightly brighter shade of gray, and so I could see like general shapes, but like you couldn't see enemies. They were completely invisible. And I mean, like, just changes in the terrain were almost impossible to see, and I thought the game was supposed to be like this, but like by the time I got here, I realized none of these textures were rendering, and I sold it. But I mean, that's a game that if I were to go, God, I don't think they would even have it at like GameStop anymore. But I'd love to play through that game.
Yeah.
You have it. Give it to me.
I have it, but my copy has graphical issues too. The last level of the game, it glitches on me every single time. I get about 4 minutes in and it just glitches. So if you've completed Condemned, congratulations, your copy worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are sorts of the big things that I'm into. I like shooters like BioShock, Half-Life 2, RPGs like Fallout. Those are the sorts of things that I'm, down with. And of course,
things you're interested in.
I'm interested in, and there are other games and whatnot, but we can always touch on those things later, and we can kind of move on to the things that you.
Yeah, I mean, I've played since I didn't own a console for so long, and then when I didn't own very many games. I found that I was playing a very wide range of games. Like, before I owned a console, I had friends that had. Like I said, had a Nintendo 64 and had PlayStation. So I was playing stuff like Crash Bandicoot, stuff like NBA Jam. God, I don't even remember all of the names of the the sports games that I played, because they had a ton of those. But I mean, that was my first experience to stuff like Tekken and Mario Kart, and I mean just a huge amount of games. And like I said, I was not very good at any of them. But yeah, I think I got my first I got my Nintendo 64 around 98, 99, I think, and I think I had about 5 games. I think I still have about 5 games. I might not have gotten any once
well, those were expensive.
They
were, because 64 was a cartridge, so unfortunately, even if the game sucked, the price didn't drop.
I played 64 for a while, but I don't think I ever bought any more games until the GameCube came out, and then like all of the secondhand Nintendo 64 games were like just.
Oh, you were just rolling in at that point.
I had a whole bunch.
Yeah.
And I started selling them back.
Jet Force Gemini.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Could not get past level 3 though for the life of me. But I haven't tried it, and like I haven't played that game in like, oh my god, 9-10 years.
What is it with rare games? How do they look so good? Like every time. Go back to your Super Nintendo, play everything else, then go look at Donkey Kong Country.
Right.
Go back to your your N64. Go play GoldenEye or Perfect Dark or Jet Force Gemini compared to everything else. If you want a big one, go play Star Fox Adventures. Go compare that to anything else on the GameCube. That is a great what game. Is going
great
on.
Game.
More importantly, what happened to them when they went to Microsoft? Grabbed by the ghoulies?
I think that was a matter of the type of game and the story that was being told. I mean, it was a rare game. I mean,
it looked pretty good.
It looked like a rare game. I mean,
yeah.
So, but I think I got my. I think I waited a while until I think I got my GameCube around. I don't even know when I got that, because when did it come out? That was like
November 01.
01. Okay,
I'm a robot.
I don't think I got mine until 04 probably. 03 or 04, somewhere around there.
After me? I was 02, 03.
Yeah,
that might make sense.
No, I got it after you, way after you.
Okay.
And I remember I was so excited, and I only had Super Mario Sunshine because that's what came with the console when you bought it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You had that bundle. I forgot you got that one. God, I was shit at that.
I was not very good. I mean, oh man, no, because I had Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64, and I was really good at that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that translated well to
some of it, yeah,
to Super Mario Sunshine. But the whole water thing, I mean, that didn't.
Cleaning up? No, I don't. No.
You don't play video games to clean.
I go outside to clean.
I play video games
nature.
to avoid cleaning.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Don't bring this environmental message into my video games.
Cleaning up oil.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, who got hold of that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, but that was around the time that we started hanging out a lot.
Right, because you had a GameCube and I had a GameCube, and so
right.
we could just flat out grab our memory card, grab whatever game we needed, then just walk 2 blocks down the street.
Exactly.
And so that, I mean, that was amazing for me, because when I was back hanging out with Tom for the first year or two, he had a PC, I had a PC. I wasn't smart enough to figure out how to like isolate save files and bring them over, so I had games I played at home and I had games I played at Tom's, and it was kind of weird. But once I found out, I was like, whoa, I can just take my memory card and go over to Tom's and bring my game, and it's the exact same experience. It was, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was when we all started hanging out. It was you, me, Tom, Kurt, and Brian.
Back before we ruined our good graces with Brian.
Well, it wasn't Brian, because I think Brian was cool.
Well, it wasn't that. Brian wasn't the problem. It was the dropping of the glass bottle in Brian's hot tub,
which was I was not here for.
Yeah,
I can I was not around that summer. But yeah. I don't know.
That was the end of things.
He might listen to this. You never know.
Brian might.
Brian, if you're listening.
You're listening, we know you have a lot of guns, and we respect you.
I was gonna say sorry for the glass in the hot tub, but yeah, that too. The guns too.
We're sorry we made fun of you owning Super Trucks Racing. We're sorry we made fun of you owning the Cat in the Hat for Xbox.
Let's just come clean right now.
Everything. Oh God.
Super Trucks Racing actually sounded really cool. I'm gonna be honest. Like I really wanted to play that.
Yeah.
Part of me.
Yeah, well, it has Super in it.
Yeah.
That worked for Mario.
Super and racing.
Yeah. Super also worked for any Super Nintendo game.
This is true.
This was back when Nintendo thought with the Super Nintendo that you had to put Super in front of every game, and with the 64 they said, this is a great idea. Put 64 after every title, which means that if any franchise reaches 64, they are going to be screwed.
Well, thank goodness they aren't making games for that anymore, right?
The 64?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not making games for it anymore.
Still making games for the Dreamcast.